everybody's doing wonderfully. We're going to be doing a practice that's going to focus on hips today. So it's going to be really intense, really intense. If you're not a regular yin practitioner, this class this morning is going to make you say, what the heck is going on? So I want you to get a lot of props because we want to go to our edge. We want to feel that place of resistance, a little bit of discomfort, but we don't ever want to feel pain. So go ahead and get, if you have like couch pillows laying around, I've got a couple bedroom pillows laying around, couch cushions, like the actual cushion off of your couch, towels, blankets, anything that you could think of that might make you more comfortable for this practice. Also keep in mind that since we're working on the hips, sometimes you tend to hold emotions in your hips, so if you get angry or sad or whatever the feeling is, just know that that's perfectly natural, perfectly normal. We're going to start in Shavasana just to come into the space and settle into ourselves and our energy. So whenever you're ready, feel free to get into your own Shavasana, however that might look for you. Now if you're following along, sitting in a chair, whatever, that's cool. So just get comfortable however you are. If you're sitting in a chair, if you're sitting on the floor in a simple seated, or if you'd like to start in a typical traditional Shavasana, which is laying down on your back, you can have whatever props you want, like if you want to put a pillow under your legs and get comfortable like that. That's probably one of my favorite ways to do Shavasana. And once you've found a comfortable position, just start to bring your awareness into your natural rhythm of breath. Without placing any judgment on your breath, notice the speed, notice the temperature, just pay attention to any qualities that you can find. Are you breathing out of your nose or out of your mouth? Is your inhale longer than your exhale? Just study the breath, but with a sense of gentle, loving curiosity, a sense of playfulness. We're just curious. We're not here to judge ourselves. We're just here to learn about ourselves. So in yoga, we talk about this thing called the Ujjayi breath. Sometimes it's called an ocean wave breath. It does kind of sound like when you put a shell up to your ear and you hear that ocean wave sound. So the best way to talk about an Ujjayi breath for me is if I put my hand in front of my face and I exhale audibly, like I'm fogging up a window or fogging up a mirror. You're just basically slowing your breath down and placing a light constriction in the back of the throat. So go ahead and try to slow your breath down a little bit. Imagine, like, you know how when cats are purring and there's that kind of, it's like a vibrational stimulus. So that is kind of happening in the back of your throat. There's a little bit of a feeling. You can feel it. There's a lot of different breath practices that are out there. You can research them. And some teachers are really heavy on breath practices. My mom is one of those teachers. So that's something I invite you to explore. Let's see. So we can either be breathing just normally how we are, our everyday rate and rhythm of breath, or perhaps practicing an Ujjayi breath. But remember, when we get into the actual movements, that perhaps that Ujjayi breath will help us work through more difficult poses. When we meet a place of discomfort, when we find our edge, we can work through that without finding any pain by using our breath to help us navigate that difficult environment. Take a moment to check in with your body before we transition Just notice how your body meets the floor, the chair, any props that you have around you. Notice how it finds a sense of support. Notice if there's any tension anywhere. If you can, give yourself permission to release that tension. And if it doesn't work the first time, that's okay. Keep going. Say, self, you know what? I feel that shoulder tension. I know that I earned it by doing a lot of hard work yesterday on my computer, out in my garden, or wherever. And it's okay. I'm going to release that. So give yourself permission to release that tension. As you're inhaling, notice the expansion in your body. Try to feel that sense of expanding in the body. Where is it happening? Where do you feel yourself expanding? Is it the front of the body, the sides of the body, the back of the body, a combination of all of it, but maybe more heavily focused in one region? And then as you exhale, notice if you feel a sense of release or relief. And if it's focused in one area, notice where that is focused. We're going to start pretty gently. We're going to start in a pose that we've done in multiple classes. That is the reclined supported bound angle. And so whenever you're ready, feel free to roll onto your side for a little side child's pose before you push yourself up. So you're just laying on your side, however's comfortable. And when you're ready, you'll push yourself up. Where's my bolster? If you have a bolster, feel free to use it. If you don't have a bolster, I would recommend stacking up a couple pillows. So I've got my sleeping pillow and I've got a nice fluffy couch pillow. So I could stack those up right like that and I could get the same effect as the bolster or something similar. It might even feel better than the bolster. Bolsters are a little bit hard where your pillows are softer. So when you're ready, you want to line up your props, so your bolster or your pillows, behind your back almost as if you had a tail. And then for your reclined bound angle or your butterfly, you're going to put your feet together. So my knees are out like I'm a butterfly and my feet are together. I've lined that bolster up or my pillows up with the back of my body. And I'm checking in with my posture, my alignment. Do I feel like I'm firmly rooted in the ground? Yes. Does my spine feel long and strong? It does. Maybe I need to bring my shoulders back. Okay, awesome. Now I'm going to gently walk myself down, keeping a long spine until I find a comfortable place to lay. And you can have your arms in a bunch of different positions. You can have them out in a T. That's going to be a nice chest opener. You can have them in cactus arms. That's a little bit more intense for me. You can have them down by your sides if you need something a little bit more gentle. Last night when I was going through this practice, I had to have my arms down at my sides. It was just too intense to have them out because my chest and my shoulders were just really tight. So consider what works for you, what you need right now, and you could even have your hands on your belly, and that's going to be a very, very mild chest opening sensation. I've got the timer going. We won't be here for too awfully long. And keep in mind that if your legs are uncomfortable in this position, you can put props underneath your legs. So I could have pillows under each leg. I could have blocks or books or cans or anything under each leg to give myself a little bit of support there. And if that's still too much, you do have the option to put your legs out straight in front of you in the reclined rest pose. So check in with your body here. Notice how you're feeling. Do you feel tension anywhere? How do your hips feel? If you ever need to come out of a pose or readjust yourself, you are always more than welcome to. You can go deeper or you can make it less intense based on how you're feeling in each moment, and using your breath to navigate that feeling. So notice how your legs are doing right now. Notice how your hips are doing. Now, since we're focusing on the hips today and we're starting off gentle, really listen to your body. If you need props under your legs to support yourself, grab those props. If there's any tension that you can release in this beginning moment, give yourself permission. Say, okay, hips, we're going to work you today. It's okay. Release any tension that you have holding on to in your hips. And same with your shoulders. We're not focusing on shoulders, but we're going to hit a lot of different parts of the body with our practice today. So if there's any tension in your shoulders, feel free to do that same thing. Give yourself permission to release where you need to. And we're about halfway through this hold. So if you need to readjust at all, we're at that halfway mark. So start to focus your attention on your breath and just notice, again, what are the qualities and characteristics of your breath? What is the natural rate and rhythm? How do you feel the expansion in your body with this new shape, with the pillows underneath you or the bolster underneath you? Alright, our timer has run out on this pose. I've got my little hourglass going on. So whenever you're ready, you can gently either push yourself back up using your hands and engaging your abs, or you can just roll right on off the bolster and back onto your side. Whatever works for you. The next pose that we're going to be doing is intense, but we're not going to hold it for very long, so it's going to be alright. I'm going to grab the little 1-minute timer because we're only going to hold 1 minute on each side. So this is called shoelace pose. I'm going to scoot back just a little bit. Oh goodness, shoelace pose. So again, let's grab a couple pillows because we might need pillows to make this more comfortable for us. So what I'm doing right now is I'm going to start with my left leg on the bottom, so my left knee is kind of pointing forward towards you guys. And then I'm going to come around and I'm crossing my legs so that both of my knees are pretty much stacked on top of each other. And that's where the pillow might come in because maybe this is really uncomfortable and I need to put a pillow somewhere here. And then my feet are attempting to be in alignment with each other, one foot pointing this way, the other pointing this way. Now, depending on how tight your hips are, that could be physically impossible. There's a bunch of different places that your body might wind up here. So just do this to the best of your ability. If you practice this pose all the time and you're very familiar with it, you can even lean forward a little bit here. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to have one hand on one foot, one hand on the other foot. I'm going to try to have both of my sitting bones rooted firmly in the ground with a long, strong spine and my shoulders back. Oh goodness, let me start this timer because I'm already here and I can't stay here forever. This is a really intense hip opener, so if at any time you need to come out, feel free to come out. If you don't want to even attempt this, feel free to head into another pose, maybe child's pose. I'm trying to think of what something that might be similar to this is. It's not coming to me right now. I'll try to have some alternative poses for things like this next time around. But if you're here with me and you're doing this pose along, just use your breath to get through this. You're at your edge. You found a place where, okay, I'm certainly not comfortable, but I'm definitely not in pain either. this is just so wonderful for releasing hip tension that's buried deep within the hips that we don't access very often. When you're actually doing the pose, and it's something so intense with the class, my brain is just, right now I'm just focusing on trying to release that tension that I'm feeling in my own body. This is one of those poses for me that really gets me. I hold a lot of tension in my shoulders and in my hips, so this is one of those poses that just gets me right where I need it. But we're there. We're at the 1 minute mark. We might have even made it a little bit longer. So if you're still holding on, go ahead and unwind. You can put your legs in front, shake them out, do whatever you need to release. Maybe arching the back, I'm putting my hands behind my back a little bit and arching my chest forward. Whatever it is that you need to release before we go to the other side. So for me, I had my left leg on the bottom that first time, so I'm going to put my right leg on the bottom this time. And if you need more time to release in between poses, take that time. This is your practice. Don't worry about moving at the pace that I'm moving at. If you get behind at some point and don't get to finish, this practice will be available. We'll put it up on SSP's page so you can come back to it later if you need to. So if you're ready, I've got my right leg, or whichever leg you started with, you'll switch it up. I've got my right leg on the bottom this time, and I'm going to wrap that left leg around. Notice if it feels any different. I instantly notice this side is a little bit more difficult for me. Whew, you can probably see it in my face. So again, both of my knees are trying to be stacked right now. This side, I don't have them quite stacked as nicely. One of my knees is over here and the other one is over here. I had it almost perfectly stacked in that last one, but like I said, maybe this is where you are. Maybe like there's a million places that you can be based on how your body feels in this moment. Use a pillow, use a prop to try to get yourself a little bit more comfortable if you need to. I think I like that. I'm going to keep the pillow here for the side. So again, for me, I'm just going to put both of my hands on both of my feet. I'm holding my feet. I'm kind of have them in alignment also. They're, once again, in less perfect alignment than the other side, but that's okay, no worries. I have more tension in my left hip, apparently, than I do in my right hip. That makes sense because my left leg is dominant. So, again, we're going to use our breath to get through this. Settle in. You're at an edge, but you're not at a point of pain. You're feeling discomfort, but never pain in this class. Try to notice the little micro things that are happening in your body, the micro feelings. So just the really subtle areas that you're stretching, the really subtle places of resistance. I'm watching that timer. All right, we're at time, friends. So go ahead and release those legs. Whew. Shake them out. Do whatever you need to release. We'll take a moment to just release whatever it is that you need. And you might need a couple things. Counter poses are typically just kind of gently holding one pose, but sometimes for me, counter poses are dancing around in a bunch of different ways. So the next thing that we're going to go into is reclined hero, and there's a bunch of different ways that we can do this one. I'm going to kind of show you in a scale. So the first way that I could do this is I could grab my pillows or my bolster, and I can come into this, I'm on my knees right now, I'm sitting back so that I'm sitting in between my heels, my feet are out to the sides, and then, let me see if I can scoot back a little if you can see it better. There we go. So again, I've got that long, strong spine. I have my pillows or my bolster behind me, and I'm just going to gently lower myself down onto the bolster, opening my arms up or putting them in a T, whatever is comfortable for you. So you can do this with the pillow or the bolster. You can also do it with one leg at a time. So I would lay, so for example, I've got my right leg is back and my left leg is out, and then I would recline just like that. That's going to be the most gentle version of this pose, is to do one leg at a time on top of a bolster. You can do one leg at a time with no bolster also, and that's going to be the next kind of level of gentle. And then the most intense way to do this is without any support at all. I'm just sitting in between my legs, and then I'm going to gently walk myself down onto the ground, and I'll stay here. Now be mindful of your knees here, because you don't want to feel pain. It might be a little uncomfortable in your legs, but you don't want to feel pain, especially not in your knees. So if you have any knee injuries or difficulties with your knee, go ahead and come out and just consider your own health and your own abilities, and don't push yourself too far. We'll spend about 2 minutes here, so I'm going to get started on the first minute right now. If you're doing one side and then the other, I'll tell you when the halfway point comes, and then you can switch to the other leg. So again, here, notice how your body feels. Notice where the tension is, and if you can give yourself permission to release that tension. We're almost halfway through this hold. So keep your attention on your breath. Notice where you feel the expansion in your body on each inhale and the release on each exhale. If you're doing one leg at a time, we've just hit our halfway mark, so go ahead and gently bring yourself back up. Switch your legs out and then come back gently as well. I'm going to start the timer again so that we've got the next half of this pose. So remember with yin that we're targeting connective tissues, and we're using these long holds, the cold muscle practice, and that target of connective tissues to release synovial fluids, and we're going to be increasing our mobility over time. So this is difficult, but it's very good for us. We're almost done with this. We've got about 20 seconds left. I'm just watching that timer. All right, whenever you're ready, you're going to start just gently pushing yourself up. So you're in this position, and you're going to use your hands, use your abs and your back to gently lift yourself back up. And then again, take any counter pose you might need. Consider what parts of your body felt that the most, and then how can I balance that out? So for me, it feels like I need a butterfly. But whatever it is, maybe again to shake your legs out, maybe caterpillar, maybe just laying on your back in Shavasana. That's the ultimate counter pose. If you can't think of what feels the best for you, just go into a Shavasana for a moment and say, okay, here I am, here's my counter pose. We'll take just a moment to do a counter pose before we go into our next flow. This next one is another one that's really intense, and we're actually going to be using a bit of muscular strength for this one. Typically in yin, we don't use our muscles. We're relaxing our muscles in order to target those connective tissues, and that's why we are doing this in the morning instead of in the evening, because we're getting ourselves before we've warmed our body up, and that allows us to target connective tissues instead of the muscles. So, dragon pose. When I first came to yin yoga, which was goodness, a long time ago at this point. I'm not sure how many years, but my teacher, Catherine, is absolutely amazing. She is a brilliant, brilliant woman. I'm in no way doing her justice, but that's okay. I'm doing myself justice, and that's all I can do. Catherine was the first person to introduce me to Dragon Pose, and Dragon Pose is an intense series of lunges, and it's targeting kind of this part of the hip, and oh boy do I need it. So for Dragon Pose, the first thing I want you to do is just go ahead and go into a downward dog, and if you need to walk your dog out, feel free to walk your dog out. So downward dog, walk the dog, whatever it is you need to kind of, not really loosening our bodies up, but just kind of getting ourselves ready. And then when you're ready, we'll start with our right foot. Step your right foot forward. So I've got my right foot forward, and can't see me. My arms are still up. I'm going to try to reposition myself in a couple ways so you can see what I'm doing. So again, that right leg is right here. My left leg is back. Now you can drop your knee down. You can drop your knee down and let your toes release, or you can stay kind of up in a more active pose. And this is the first, I'm going to drop the knee because it's easier for me. This is the first level, Dragon Flying High. So I'm going to start a timer, I think. I don't know if I'm going to keep up with the timer. I might just do it by breath and by feel. So Dragon Flying High is the first level. My spine is long and strong, and what I was going to say. It's intense, right? So use your breath to get through this. Whew. Your breath can be audible if you need it to be. Kind of focus on that feeling in that hip opening, that opening sensation. And then you can stay here for as long as you like, or when you're ready, you can drop down to the next level. I'm going to back up a little bit. Hopefully you can see me. So I'm in Dragon Flying High. I'm going to drop down onto my forearms, but my leg, so again, switching positions, my leg is still up. Wow. So I drop down onto my forearm, this leg is still up. Trying to keep your knee in alignment over your ankle. When I switch positions, I messed up my alignment, so just be aware of that. And then coming down onto the forearms and hanging out here for a little bit. Whew, use your breath to get through that. And if you need to come out at any point, just know that you can always come out and go back in. Sometimes it feels really good to come out into that kind of a stretch. Whew. And the last level of this, and again, you can stay where you are, you can go back and forth, you can do whatever you need, but the last level of this, walk myself over here again, I'm down on my forearms, I'm going to wing my leg out. So my foot, if you can see my foot, just rolled out onto the side and my leg opened up. So there is the last level of this. And for some people, that last level is way too intense. So just stay where you feel okay, where you feel like you have hit your edge, and that's it. This is my edge. This is as far as I can go without experiencing pain. For me, I'm going to come out of this altogether because I've officially worked myself into a ridiculous sweat in less than 3 minutes. So if you need to come out, go ahead and come out. If you want to stay there longer, go ahead and stay there longer. I'll give you a few more moments to play around with that Dragon series on your own time. And again, remember, when you come out, it feels great to kind of just sit back onto that leg that was not doing this heavy stretching, heavy lifting, and let the leg that was come forward. Maybe you can lean forward onto it, maybe not. Maybe that's not what you want. Maybe you want to go straight into a Shavasana like me and just lay down. So give yourself a few moments to either finish up the Dragon series on this side or do a counter pose. And then we'll go on to the other side. Alright, whenever you're ready, we're going to come back into a downward dog. And if you need to walk the dog out on this side, feel free to walk the dog out on this side before bringing your left leg forward. Your right leg's going back this time. And your back is going to be long and strong. Your knee is in line with your ankle. And we're in Dragon Flying High, supporting ourselves up here. And you really feel like a dragon. You're really building heat here. If I wasn't talking through this whole thing, I would be going, I kid you not, I would be just doing the most ridiculous breath noises you would ever imagine, and probably faces too. Whew. So when you're ready, feel free to either stay here for as long as you want, or go down onto your forearms for Dragon Flying Low. And this is what I was talking about with this yin and this breath. Sometimes yin gets really, really intense, and we just need to use our breath to move through it. And remember, you can always come out and go back into an earlier part. You can go into Dragon Flying High. You can go into a completely different pose like Child's Pose or anything else. And then when you're ready, you're going to wing that leg out if you want, if that's calling to you, if it feels okay. If it doesn't, listen to yourself, listen to your body. Whew. At any point, if you need to audibly sigh, go ahead. What is that? There's a breath that, I think, is it the snake breath? Yeah, that's one that really helps you sometimes. So if you are feeling like you can't get through this with a, try breathing like a snake. Might help. And when you're ready, feel free to come out. If you want to go into any other version of this, like if you're not done with Dragon, if I came out too soon, feel free to go back into Dragon Flying High or whatever other version. We've got one more intense pose, but it's a little bit less intense. We're not holding like that. And then it'll be less intense again, I promise. So the next one that we've got is Swan. Swan is my ultimate favorite pose. And for this one, we're going to be going back into our downward dog. Let me see if I'm trying to think of the best way to, I think this is the best way to show you guys. Head on. So we're in our down dog. If you need to walk it out again, feel free to walk it out again. And I like to lift my leg up, so whichever leg I'm going to start with. So I'm lifting my right leg up, and then I'm bringing it forward and placing it right down. Let me see if I can just tilt it. I can't. So tilting it right down in front of me, tilting it. So I've got my leg down in front of me like that. See if I can scoot back and make it easier to see. There we go. So you can inch your foot around to kind of play with how this feels. It's going to be more intense the farther your foot comes into alignment with your knee. Your foot can be back closer to your body. That's a little bit less intense. Or you can wiggle it forward so that it's in alignment with your knee. This is kind of like a sitting swan where I'm up like this. This is a whole pose in and of itself. And then my favorite part is reclined swan, where I'm just going to walk myself forward and I'm going to relax right here. I like to put my hands on my forehead on my stacked arms like that, but just stay here. You can have a prop in front of you if you want, so you don't have to come down directly onto the floor to make it less intense. This is actually great also, but this is a really intense stretch that isn't quite as fire building as Dragon. And let me see. We will be here for a moment, probably about 2 minutes. So if you're uncomfortable at all, think about how you might be able to back out a little bit. If this isn't working for you and you're like, I can't do this, this is terrible, what are you trying to do to me, Lindsay? You can actually lay on your back, put one leg out flat and you can grab that other leg and hold it in this position. And that gives you, so you're not putting your body weight on your leg, you're using your body, using your strength to make it a little bit less intense but still have that same shape to the body. So if it's too intense to do traditional swan, come out, lay on your back, and start practicing hugging that leg into your chest at that angle. We're about halfway through this hold. So use your breath here. Use your breath to get through this. Use your breath to identify where you feel tension and where you can release that tension, how you can release that tension. Give yourself permission. Say, it's okay, body, I know you've been holding on to this hip tension for a long time, but it's not serving us. It doesn't work for us. We're going to let it go. Probably about 30, 40 more seconds, so really start to take notice. Do you feel any sense of release? If at any point you want to try to get deeper into the pose, see if you can get deeper. If you need to come out, see if you can come out. But when you're ready, what you'll do if you're still in this floor-bound version is you will start to gently push yourself up with those hands, and then I like to just unwind just like that. See if there's any counter pose that you want to take. Maybe you want to lie down in Shavasana for a moment. Maybe you want to go into downward dog and just downward dog it for a while. Or maybe child's pose is calling to you. When you're ready and you've got your counter pose worked out, we're going to go into that other side. So again, coming back into downward dog. Lifting the opposite leg into the air. Bringing that leg forward and through. I'm going to try to scoot back so you guys can see what I'm doing. I got too close again. And again, you can have your leg kind of back in that little nook right there, or you can walk that foot forward so that your ankle is in line with your knee. This is sitting swan, resting swan. I've got a pillow back there making me awkward swan. And we can stay here for a moment. This is a pose in and of itself. If this feels better to you than recline swan, you can stay here as long as you want also. Keep that in mind. And when you're ready, you're just going to walk yourself down. Again, if you need a bolster or a pillow in front of you, you are more than welcome to grab props to make this less intense and to come to a point of discomfort but never pain. If you go all the way down and you're in pain, come up, come out of it a little bit. And again, if this isn't for you and you're like, what are you doing to me, Lindsay? Remember, you've got that option to lay on your back and to extend that one leg out and to hold the other leg. And just breathe here, regardless of how you're doing it, which version of this pose you're in. Just breathe here. I'm going to start this timer. So this is another really intense one. See if you can feel that sense of release. See if you can give yourself permission to release. Again, noticing our breathing. How does the breath change when we're feeling an intense stretch? Maybe it becomes a little bit more difficult to breathe. One thing that I noticed when I first started practicing yin was that I did have a tendency to hold my breath in really intense poses. Yes, you can definitely do these in bed. Someone just asked, if you can't get on the floor, can you do this in bed? You can definitely do this in bed. I could do this on my couch. The version that I was doing on the ground, I could lay on my couch and do this if I wanted to. That's an excellent question. And also, sitting cross-legged in a chair like this is a very similar stretch. You're getting that kind of the side of the leg right in here into the butt. So yes, you can absolutely do this in your bed. Most yin and most restorative poses you can do in your bed, and you will feel great doing them in your bed. So I had a tendency to hold my breath, and Catherine, again, my teacher, who started me with yin, was just so wonderful about reminding you to breathe through the practice. And I noticed that I had that tendency to just hold my breath when it got too intense. And imagine if you were going about life like that and just holding your breath when it got too intense. Well, sometimes I do. Sometimes we all do. So keep that in mind. So I don't know, we had a question about knee replacements, and if my mom is watching, she might be able to jump in here. But I don't know in particular enough about knee replacements to feel comfortable answering that question. One thing that I would say, or the only thing that I can really say about that, is that in yin we're trying to never come to a place of pain. So if you feel pain, then definitely don't do a pose. And perhaps, so we're trying to come to a place of discomfort to lightly stretch our connective tissues, but maybe being a little bit more gentle would be safer. But I'm going to say that we'll have to do a little bit more research about knee replacements or other kind of bodily injuries before I can say whether or not it's safe. Perhaps some of the personal trainers too, if they're watching, they could jump on in the comments and give me a little bit of instruction about that. Alright, so when you're ready to come out of this pose, you're going to once again just gently start to walk yourself back up and unwrap that back leg. Again, whatever kind of movements you need for a counter pose to take that tension out, if there's anywhere that you felt tension. And we're going to go ahead, let me check the time and see what our time is. Alright, so we're going to do caterpillar for just a moment. So caterpillar is with your legs straight out in front of you, and you can put a towel or something under your knees, or a pillow or something under your knees if having the legs straight out in front of you isn't comfortable. So I could put a towel or a pillow right here, just like that. And then I might want another pillow right here so that when I come forward, it's not quite as intense. And you might not want any of those props. If you don't, no worries. So I'm checking in. Does it feel like my butt is firmly and evenly planted in the ground? Yes. My spine feels long and strong, bringing my shoulders back. And then on an inhale, I'm going to just come into this pose. On an exhale, I'm going to start bringing myself forward until I find a comfortable place to lay where I feel, and I want to keep my chest forward. You can't really tell what I'm doing with the pillow, but I want to keep my chest forward until I find my edge, and then I can round out. And if you come into this without a bolster or without a pillow and you decide you need one, go ahead and grab it. Okay, so my mom is also a yoga teacher, and she's a little bit more experienced than I am. She's got, I want to say, over 40-something years of mindful movement and meditation practice experience, so she's she's come on and she says that she would engage your feet by bringing your toes back towards the knees to help keep the knees safe, but she would also speak to your doctor and never go too far into any pose. So thank you, Mama. Let's see, we're about halfway through this hold right here. So notice where you're feeling the body expanding with each breath. Notice if there's any tension that you can release while you're here. Allow your breath to move you through this pose. And then when you're ready, and you can stay here as long as you like, we've only got one more pose before Shavasana, but when you're ready, go ahead and start to walk yourself back up. Feel free to remove any props that you've got. All right, the last pose that we're going to be doing before our Shavasana is going to be a twist. And for this twist, I think it'll be better to show you guys this way. No, maybe this way. So I'm laying down on my back, and my knees are in alignment with my ankles. My ankles are in alignment with my sitting bones. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one leg and I'm just going to cross it over like that. I am engaging the feet, just like my mom had said for that other pose, for our swan pose. And then I'm going to bring my leg up just a little bit, and I'm going to drop so for me, I've got my right foot is this one, the foot that's crossed over. I'm going to drop my right foot until it reaches the ground. So let me see if I can show you in a couple different angles. So I've got my feet are engaged, I lift that leg up, and I'm just going to drop it down until I reach the ground. Now I can play with how close that foot is to my chest. I can move it around a little bit to get a different stretch. And I'm going to set a timer, so we'll be here for just a few minutes. And you can go into any twist if this isn't the twist for you. Since we're targeting hips today, I wanted to do this figure 4 twist, but if that's too much and you just want to like windshield wiper the legs for a little bit, that's awesome. If you want to do a more gentle twist where you're just stacking your legs, that's awesome. Or if you want to go ahead and do the figure 4 twist, that's also awesome. Figure 4 twist is a little bit more intense, so again, respecting your limits, respecting your boundaries. For Millie, I would say probably doing a twist where you're stacking your knees would be a little bit better. So I'm not sure, this might be a little bit intense, but if it feels good, if it doesn't feel like it's hurting you, then if you want to, you're more than welcome. I don't want to tell you what works for your body because I'm not you and I don't know what works for your body. So notice how your body's feeling, however you're twisting, whatever way that you decided to twist. Notice where you're feeling it. Can you use your breath to release at all? Take a few more really deep breaths here. We'll be here for about 30 more seconds. So do you want to get a little deeper? Do you need to come out? Are you done? You're like, okay, I'm over this. Just take a few really deep, mindful breaths right here. And when you're ready, you're just going to go ahead and engage your abs and use the abs to help move your legs back up. You're going to unwind your legs if you're in that figure 4 twist. And if you need to do some windshield wipers before you go to the other side, feel free to drop the knees to one side and the other. And if not, and you're ready to go to the other side, cross that leg over, engage the feet. So an engaged foot, I'm kind of bringing my toes back, I'm flexed like that. Lift that leg up just a little bit and drop it down until now my left foot meets the floor. And again, consider you can bring your leg up a little bit towards your chest, you can bring it down a little bit. You can go into any variation of twist that you want. It doesn't have to be this one. We've got our timer set. So notice if it feels different on this side as opposed to the other side. It's perfectly normal for one side to feel tighter than the other. So if that's the case for you, just notice. Again, we're not placing any judgment on what we find. We're just saying, okay, body, you're tighter on this side than the other. Now I know. Maybe I can adapt the way I go through my day so that I don't hold tension on that side of my body quite so often. Or maybe I just know that when I practice stretching, that I need to stretch a little bit longer on one side than the other. Alright, we've got about 30 more seconds, so take some really deep breaths. If you want to get a little bit deeper for these last 30 seconds, feel free. If you want to come out completely, feel free. Maybe start to cultivate a sense of gratitude for yourself for going through this practice today. A sense of gratitude for everything that you do throughout the day. Alright, take a few more really deep breaths, and then when you're ready, you'll go ahead and bring that leg back up. Unwind. Take any kind of counter pose you might need. Maybe you want to tuck the knees in. Gentle hug. Maybe happy baby is calling you. Whatever it is, just take a moment, or you can go straight into Shavasana. Lay down, get comfortable. So for your Shavasana, you can use props, you don't have to. One of my favorite things to do is to place a rolled up blanket, a pillow, or something under my knees. I absolutely love that. You can also kind of, you know how we started with the reclined supported bound angle, but I said that you can have your legs straight out in front of you. If you want to do a Shavasana where you're still doing a chest opener and you've got your pillows stacked up behind you, you can do that. So just remember, for your Shavasana, make it your own. Set yourself up however you need to feel comfortable, to feel supported, to feel like you're getting the most out of this time that you have for yourself. And then relax. Just get comfortable. Cover yourself up with a blanket if you need to. Shavasana is our time to kind of integrate everything that we've just done. So we just went through our yin practice. We're about to go through our day. It's going to be a wonderful day, everyone. But for now, we're just going to take a minute and feel, I would almost call it the pause in between the breaths. So if you take an inhale, there's a pause before you exhale. And then you exhale, and there's a pause before the inhale. So take a moment to breathe like that, noticing that pause, and keeping in mind that that's kind of what Shavasana is. It's the pause in between. And now, on each inhale, think about the expansion that you're creating in the body, and then on each exhale, the release. So but still incorporating that concept of pause. So inhaling, expansion, pause, exhaling, release, pause, inhaling, expansion, pause, exhaling, release. And just keep going like that, just noticing how it feels in your body, the rhythm and rate that your breath moves at. Start to notice how your body feels on the floor, in the chair, in the bed, wherever you're laying right now. Just notice that sense of support against your back, against the sides of your body. However you're laying or sitting, notice how your body feels support. If there's any tension that you notice, feel free to just give it permission to go. Say, okay, tension, I know why you're here. We work hard. We work very hard. You have my permission to go. I feel that I have tension. I'm giving it permission to leave. And at any point throughout your day, you have the ability to pause and to start breathing mindfully, to start noticing that expansion, to start noticing that release, to check in with how your body feels supported or not by its surroundings, without placing any judgment on yourself or your circumstances. I think that's the most important part of our yin practice, and what we're learning from yin is not just to sit there with discomfort when we need to, because sometimes we do need to be uncomfortable. Growing pains. Think about growing pains when you're a child. I remember vividly how those felt. They were very uncomfortable. But also to know when we need to leave a situation or a place or a thought. To know, okay, I'm holding tension. Like if I'm sitting in my desk like this all day, well, your eyes are closed. If I'm sitting in my desk and I'm kind of leaning off to one side at my desk and I develop this kind of imbalance in my spine, yin is there to help me realize, to help me slow down and stop and say, okay, let me see past the discomfort. Let me see past this sense of discomfort and see if I can get to the root of it. The most important thing that you can do for yourself is to give yourself permission to check in with yourself, to give yourself permission to take care of yourself and to learn to understand yourself and your needs better. Take a few more moments here. Just kind of riding the wave of your own breath. Cultivate a sense of gratitude towards yourself. Know that you can get through anything and everything, whatever it is that you're going through, individually, collectively. We can get through that. We will get through that. We can sit here with discomfort because we are powerful beings, but we also know when to stop sitting with discomfort, when it's not healthy, and when to move on. You can stay in Shavasana however you are, if you're sitting, laying down, for as long as you want. We're going to kind of gently start to come out of it if you want. Now, if you don't, you can wait for this video to end and stay how you are for as long as you want. But if you want, go ahead and roll onto your side for a side child's pose, however that might look for you. And in that side child's pose, laying on your side, hello, Suzanne. Go ahead and imagine yourself as a seed. And if you're not in side child's pose, if you're sitting in your couch or in any other position in the world, still imagine that you're a seed. But if you're inside child's pose, it makes it really easy to imagine that. So breathing deeply, releasing, relaxing, letting go for just a little bit longer of anything that you're going through, any tension that you have. And then remember, when we talk about each exhale or each inhale, you're making space in your body. You're literally creating space on that inhale. And each exhale, you're releasing. So imagine that seed is growing into something that you would like to cultivate in your life. That seed is growing into love, compassion. That seed is growing into strength, mobility. That seed is growing into self-awareness. That seed is growing into a network of community or support. Whatever it is that you need on a personal level, on a collective level, in your family, with your friend circle, whatever it is. Like if we were to set an intention for our practice, something like that. You are that seed. You are that thing that you need in your life, that you want to become, whatever it is. And as you're laying here inside child's pose, or however you are, imagine watering yourself. Imagine surrounding yourself with the most nutritious soil. Imagine sprouting. Imagine growing. Imagine the sunlight and taking care of yourself. I want you guys to remember that you can love yourself as if you were your own best lover, because in fact you are. Always take care of yourself. Always take care of yourself. That's it. Whenever you're ready, and remember, stay here as long as you want, stay in Shavasana as long as you want, but if you would like, feel free to push yourself up into a gentle sitting position, however that might look for you. Just take a moment to give yourself thanks, to give this group that we're practicing with thanks. I know we're not all here in person, but in spirit we are all very much together. So thank you all for practicing with each other today. I look forward to seeing you on Thursday for restorative yoga, and then again next Tuesday, and keep it going until we can get together in person. Have a wonderful day, my friends. Earlier the weather said it was supposed to rain, but it looks sunny as sunny can be right now. So I'm going to do some replanting and repotting. I've got some willow trees that I started, weeping willow trees that I started here at home. And then I'll probably head to the garden at SSP and do some watering there. So hopefully you guys have a garden yourself, or something that brings you joy that you can do today. Maybe reading a book outside would be lovely. I might do that too. But thank you all again, and have a wonderful day. I'll talk to you later.